Well, Mark Weisbrot is co-director of the Centre for Economic and Policy Research in Washington, D.C., from where he joins me live now. Thanks for being with us on the programme. What effect do you think these new sanctions will have?
Well, they'll obviously harm the economy, and I think that's the intent, and it will cause more. I mean, they're basically trying to deprive the Venezuelan economy of finance. And so, of course, that will make the depression worse. It'll increase shortages of food and medicine. It will, worsen the balance of payments crisis and the inflation depreciation spiral that the country has been in for the last few years. And so I think the intent is to harm the economy and to get people to blame the government for that and then to overthrow the government. I think that's what it was ambiguous before, but I think this makes it unambiguous that this is the Trump administration's strategy. And, we know how regime change turns out in general in situations in polarized countries in Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan and Libya. And I don't think, it's not there yet, of course, in Venezuela, but they are pushing the country towards civil war. And it's illegal. It's illegal under the Charter of the Organization of American States. It's illegal under other treaties that the United States is a party to. And there really isn't any justification for it. If you look at other sanctions that the United States has led or implemented against Iran, against Iraq, these were, even Russia, they had some international pretext for them. Sometimes it wasn't true, like in Iraq. Or, there's a nuclear program in North Korea. They have nuclear weapons. There was at least a potential nuclear program in Iran. There's nothing there at all in Venezuela that they can justify this. And yet the president of the United States has to declare, in order to institute these sanctions, that we have a national emergency here because of the extraordinary and unusual security threat of Venezuela. That's how they impose sanctions that would otherwise be contrary to international law.
If that is the strategy from the Trump administration, it would be a risky strategy, wouldn't it? Because surely it's like the likelihood is that actually it's going to bolster support for Nicolas Maduro rather than turn more people against him.
Yes, I think that's right. And a lot of people would say that. But, even aside from that, it further polarizes the country. Imagine if you're going to support these sanctions inside Venezuela, you're going to be seen as kind of a traitor. You're helping this power who has a long history of intervening in your country and supported other attempts to overthrow the government. And you're helping, you're working with them to hurt your own economy. I mean, that's how you're going to be perceived if you support these sanctions. And so, it further polarizes the conflict. And I think, again, that must be part of their purpose, because things are relatively peaceful now. And I think they want to stir it up. And, the opposition is, most of the opposition is, the vast majority of them are participating right now they signed up to participate in the regional elections in October. And so that is the path towards which this conflict will be resolved. It has to have a peaceful, negotiated electoral solution. And I think perhaps the Trump administration is trying to go another way. And I have to say also, Trump it's a very dangerous thing. I mean...
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you because I know we're running short of time.
I'm just saying that Trump he's threatened military action. I think that's very important. He's threatened military action. That is often something that follows sanctions like this. There hasn't been sanctions like this, in Latin America since the 1980s, and they were followed by military actions in Nicaragua, in Grenada. And I think that you have a president who's disgraced here at home and internationally, and a military action, which he keeps threatening in various places, might be also another thing he's looking for.
What I wanted to say was, some, on the other hand, will say that the protests on the streets, they clearly haven't forced Maduro to change path, to change course. And they will say that international action is actually needed to stop him moving further towards a path of dictatorship. That's what they might say.
Well, I think first of all, they already have said many times they don't care about democracy, in the rest of the world in general. And look at Trump is good friends with Duterte in the Philippines, killed thousands and thousands of people, murdered them. I mean, this is not about human rights. If it were, they'd be going after Mexico. It's a much worse human rights situation than Venezuela's ever had. And so I think that's not really the issue here. International action, I think, would be useful if it was, and it has been in the past, action such as the Pope has taken to pursue a mediation and a negotiated solution. That's the only solution when you have this kind of polarization. Otherwise, you push it towards civil war. And we had terrible civil wars in Central America in the 1980s that killed hundreds of thousands of people. And those also were very much fomented and supported by the United States.
All right, really good to get your thoughts. That's Mark Weisbrot joining us there from Washington, D.C. Thank you.